As I read this chapter, I was confronted with something uncomfortable: how easy it is to say I believe God will provide, while quietly living as if I am on my own. I know the verses. I have quoted them. I have even clung to them in desperate moments. And yet, if I am honest, my daily reactions often betray what I claim to believe. What struck me most is how deeply rooted a poverty mentality can be, especially when life has taught you to expect lack. Fear does not always shout; sometimes it whispers through phrases that feel reasonable and responsible. I can't afford it, I'd better be careful, what if there isn't enough? Reading this made me realize how normalized those thoughts have become, even among believers, even among those who know Scripture well. This chapter reminded me that provision is not only about money. It is about trust. It is about believing that God is not just aware of my needs, but actively involved in meeting them, often in ways that require me to step forward before I can see the outcome. That kind of faith feels risky. It feels irresponsible to the natural mind. And yet, again and again in Scripture, that is exactly the posture God honors. I was especially challenged by the idea that giving is not something we do once we feel safe, secure, or abundant. True faith often shows itself in moments when giving feels costly, when time is short, energy is low, finances are tight, or encouragement is the very thing we ourselves are lacking. That kind of giving exposes what we really believe about God's character. Another lesson that stayed with me is how God sometimes stacks the odds against us, not to punish us, but to remove every illusion that we are self-sufficient. I recognized myself in that tension, the place where circumstances feel overwhelming and unfair, and yet may be the very place where God is inviting deeper dependence. It made me ask myself whether I want God's provision, or whether I also want the credit. Perhaps the most comforting truth I took from this chapter is the reminder of identity. When we forget who our Father is, and who our true husband is, we begin to live like orphans, even while belonging to a kingdom of abundance. Fear fills the gap where trust should be. But when we remember who we belong to, provision becomes less about numbers and more about relationship. This chapter did not make me feel condemned, it made me feel exposed, and strangely hopeful. Hopeful that even when fear has held the pen in my story for a while, God is still the one who writes the final chapter. Hopeful that second chances are not an exception with Him, but part of His nature. Most of all, I have learned that faith is not proven by what I say I believe, but by how I live when circumstances challenge that belief. And maybe the quiet invitation in all of this is simple, yet profound: to live what I say I believe, and let the rest follow.